What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So, only one player so far today from USC entered the transfer portal that we know, and that was the edge player, Korey Foreman, who was pretty much considered the top 5, maybe number 1 overall player in his class close out here in the Inland Empire from Corona Centennial, the high school. But, yeah, it just never really worked out and panned out, and for some reason just never got enough playing time. And you would think with a nice and better defensive coaching change, he would have stuck around at least another year, but decided to enter the portal. I guess we'll see what happens with his future. But yeah, sucks because he was definitely one of the better local products around here, and to see him go to USC was a pretty cool thing, but sadly he might be leaving. So good luck to him wherever he chooses, obviously, if it's not UCLA or Notre Dame. And then some news popped up today on the eve of National Signing Day starting on Wednesday at 7 Eastern. You'll probably see this a little bit later than that, but I'm recording it on Tuesday night. But yes, there was some news out there that head coach Lincoln Riley was kind of making a late push for the 5-star quarterback DJ Lagway, who's probably considered the second best, maybe the best quarterback in this 2024 class. And I believe he was recently named the Max Preps Player of the Year as well. But yeah, I don't know. According to Scott Schrader of We Are SC, who does a lot of the recruiting news for them, he pretty much said that, yeah, Lincoln Riley was on the phone and USC tried to lure him away or back, and because USC was in the running for his final schools, but he ended up choosing Florida, and that was pretty much because of their whole NIL collective and all that stuff, and probably the money he's going to be making out there. So I think their package was just too much more for USC to handle, and that's probably what is going to go down tomorrow. But I guess we could hope for the best. And I think even with Korey Foreman, it might be more than this, but On3 had like 16 players so far that have left or entered the portal from USC, which is pretty crazy. It probably is more with Foreman now, and there could be even more coming up soon, but we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully that it isn't too much, and maybe some of these guys do decide to come back, but I think they're in the portal for a reason, and we'll just have to deal with that. And as of Tuesday, USC is pretty much the 18th ranked team recruiting-wise going for the 2024 class. Still kind of surprising that they haven't even moved out of the top 20 because of other guys that they've lost and the certain type of rankings that the other players that they have signed the past couple of months. But it is still a pretty good class in my opinion, and it should be bolstered up, at least move a couple spots, maybe into the top 15 tomorrow on Wednesday. But yes, overall, hopefully this will be a top 10 team, top 10 class once February comes around. But USC does seem to be maybe having to go towards the portal because of how many guys are exiting USC right now. But we'll have to wait and see. And speaking of another portal guy who just recently entered from a different school, is a wide receiver from Texas A&M in Evan Stewart, one of the top-ranked guys a few years ago coming out of high school. Obviously, it seemed like Texas A&M put out a bit more money to get him, and he's been really good, a really athletic, fast, solid player for them, but he just recently entered the portal, and that's another big-time get that USC can have on their team for next year's squad. But hoping that USC does talk to him and offer him pretty quickly and get him in for an official visit. But yes, hoping for the best there. And then the USC men's basketball team did play tonight on the road at Alabama State, I believe the school was, and they did win that game 79-59. So they were able to handle it. I think they had a pretty big halftime lead as well. It's part of this like Pac-12 / SWAC, Southwestern Athletic Conference legacy game or something like that. So I wonder if this is going to be continuing on for a lot of those Pac-12 schools to be hosting and playing at some of those other schools out there, which is pretty cool to get them some more notoriety and have them play against a better team. And yes, luckily USC was able to beat this team and not get embarrassed as they have been, but it is cool to give some of these smaller schools a chance to play against some of the bigger teams out there in college basketball. And then an anonymous NFL GM recently did say that Caleb Williams is a pretty much lock to go #1 overall in the draft. He's obviously going to be competing with Drake May, the quarterback from North Carolina, who did say he was declaring for the draft like a week or so ago. So, yeah, and once again, we still have not heard an official word on Caleb Williams, of course, but I'm pretty sure he is not going to be returning, which does suck, but yeah, that's the reality we have to live with as of right now. And as to why I'm kind of wondering Caleb Williams is taking his time is because Will Howard, the supposed Kansas State transfer quarterback who would be coming into USC, and all signs point to him coming, still has not said either that he will be transferring to USC. So that's kind of maybe why he's hesitant, because he doesn't know exactly Caleb's decision as well. But I don't know. I guess it's going to come down to the stretch here with both those guys. And then when it came to Duke's Kyle Filipowski, he did win the ACC Player of the Week last week in that one game going against Hofstra. He had 28 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists. So a near triple-double for him, and they were able to get that victory against Hofstra. So that was a nice recognition for him this last week. And then as we spoke on the last video, I believe we had talked about the official visit that ex-Texas quarterback Maalik Murphy had at Duke pretty recently. And I did see an RPM suggesting that he has a 95% chance to go to Duke now, which is pretty cool. So it's kind of looking like it's pretty obvious that he will be choosing that school soon. We still have to wait for an official announcement, but yeah, it's looking like it's headed in the right direction for those Duke Blue Devils. An ex-Penn defensive end, Will Seiler, hopefully I'm saying that correct, did commit to Duke today, so he will be joining this transfer portal class. And obviously there's a lot of Ivy League players that are transferring that a lot of schools have tried to get. Even USC was trying to get one guy, but he did end up going to Florida. But yeah, a lot of talent coming out of those Ivy League places. I think Will has one more year left, so he'll only be there, but it's one of the more recent gets for the new Duke head coach and Manny Diaz. Then when it came to the Chargers, yes, they did sign, forget if it was yesterday or today, a backup quarterback in Will Greer. Isn't that surprising, because he was in Dallas when Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, was there. So he knows the system and all that stuff. And I believe they signed him from the New England practice squad. And they did bring up a center on the Chargers practice squad and Cameron Tom, because they did make a couple bit of moves in that department, because they did put the starting center right now, Will Clapp, on injured reserve. Then they did waive the rookie quarterback Max Duggan, who I think is returning to the practice squad. We'll have to wait and see official on that. And they did also sign a center in Brett Lang, hope I'm saying that correct, to the Chargers practice squad. So I guess if they have another spot left, they will bring back the rookie quarterback in Duggan, but we'll just have to wait and see. A little bit of movement. Luckily, it's not great movement to where be worried if the Chargers would have a chance to beat the Buffalo Bills this weekend, but definitely hoping that the Chargers do end up losing out, because I think even after that loss Thursday, they already had the number 5 overall pick. I don't know where they sit now after all the games that happened Sunday and Monday, but I'm pretty sure it's still top 10, which is nice, and hopefully it will stay in there and go even closer to the top 5 overall pick. So definitely hoping for that. And yes, sadly, the creator of the show, Everybody Loves Raymond, one of my top favorite shows that I've watched when I was growing up, and even bought the digital box set and still watch it pretty much on the regular. He did recently cut some of the rumors out there that there would maybe be a reboot, because a lot of stuff like Will and Grace or Frasier have come back, older shows during that time. But he did say that because sadly that both Peter O'Boyle and Doris Roberts, the two actors who played his parents on the show, passed away in real life, that it just wouldn't be right not only to do the show without them, but he still thought that it would not be a good enough show to put out there for the fans and for himself. So he thought that they ended at the right time. A lot of people, especially on the staff, wanted to keep going, but him and the other creator thought it would be nice to end there, which they did because it was still funny towards the end. And I believe, sadly, the actor who played his father passed away right after that final year. But yeah, either way, we'll still have all those classics to enjoy, especially I will, that I actually paid for them. So definitely still have been enjoying them ever since. And then yes, as I am recording this Tuesday night going into tomorrow, National Signing Day, as I mentioned earlier, that starts at 7 a.m. here on the West Coast, all the way up until quite a bit. I think it's up until Friday is the last bit that this opening is for, like, a lot of the high school kids to sign. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I think they should have definitely put this back. Either kept this here and allowed, like, kids to enter the transfer portal later than this, because a lot of these coaches have had to recruit not only high school, but a lot of these guys entering the portal on a daily basis, and all of a sudden you may lose a guy because he chooses another school, and then some other guy pops up. Then you have to set up all these official visits and get him interested in your school. So it's just a crazy process that, I mean, I don't know if college football really likes the NCAA anyways, and would try to work out some type of partnership to make this easier. But yeah, at some point they gotta fix this because it's pretty crazy, and yeah, it does suck. So yes, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Probably put up quick, less than a minute shorts if some of these guys become official for USC, and talk about them real quick and give them their spotlight in the moment. So look out for those today as you're watching this video on Wednesday. Like I said, thanks for watching. Bye now.